Welcome, everybody. I am here with our cousin and good friend, Natalie Mack. So, Natalie is a homeschool rock star. And
I'm hanging with another rock star, Miss Vicky.
we just love Natalie's one of those people when I get to go to conferences, I always look for because I'll be smiling within about 10 seconds. So Natalie brings so much to the table for us homeschoolers, and especially for our teens who are getting ready for life and to take their place as citizens. So today we're going to talk about ideas for civics, so helping our kids get meaningful civics credit on their transcripts because most of them need a government or civics kind of credit on their ideas that are tested and true and are meaningful. So the things that teens won't just be reading and rolling their eyes, like meaningful stuff. So, okay. So Natalie, tell us about how you got interested in sharing civic kind of ideas with young people, because most people don't teach things like model diplomacy, which
Yeah,
counts as civics.
right.
So, yeah, how did you get interested in this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I ask myself that every day, Vicky. And I'm like, how did I get interested? Gosh, a couple of
Homeschooling
ways,
your
I think.
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I think a couple of ways. So, in college, I majored in political science
Mhm.
and Spanish. So I double majored. And back then, I wanted to go to grad school for international relations, and I really had a dream. I was going to be a human rights activist
Uh-huh.
in South America, and eventually, obviously, well, I did never, become that. And God had different plans. I went into
Mhm.
became a licensed mental health therapist, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then obviously homeschooled, and so all that stopped. But I think I put it on the back burner. And so fast forward to our middle son, Noah, who's now in his second year of graduate school.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Mhm.
He's working on a master's in urban planning. But when he was being homeschooled here in Northern Virginia area, there was a Model United Nations Club called Model
Mm.
UN or
Mhm.
MUN or MUN. People call it a variety of things.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had ever seen one for homeschoolers. And
Mhm.
he absolutely loved it. And he competed and they traveled and the club was successful. And it just kind of perked my interest back up and thinking, wow, okay. And I've always been very interested in international foreign relations. Like
Mhm.
I love people. I love cultures.
Mhm.
We've been blessed to travel a lot around the world, and I just see God in all these places. I see God in
Mhm.
all of His people, and this model diplomacy just kind of brought it front and center in it. And
Mhm.
then, of course, he was our next high schooler or a young adult to be able to vote. And it became important. Like I realized, wow. And I started to look around and I didn't see really a lot of this type of thing offered for homeschoolers.
Yeah.
And I figured, wow, let's do this. So I started offering it online for a couple of years using a couple of resources.
Mhm.
Had our youngest son, because our oldest son was like, he was launched and everything, and the younger son was the one, and offered it virtually via Zoom and Google Classroom. And
Mhm.
now here we go. This year is model diplomacy again
Mhm.
and ethics and civil discourse. So,
So there are two courses that you are offering. So we're going to list
yes,
several things besides your courses that help build good civics credits.
yes,
But I want to dive into, like, if I had had both of these courses available for my teens when they were in high school, I would have just jumped all over them. But they weren't there, Natalie. So now now there are, because
yes,
what we want is for our teens to have interaction with the civic ideas that help them become the citizens that can run the country when their
yes,
turn comes.
exactly.
And
Right.
so some of what you are doing here is helping them to think in a civic way. So
Yes.
can you explain both courses to us?
Yes. So the ethics and civil discourse is starting this Friday. It's going to be an hour and a half course, hour and a half, twice a month. So I'm going to be using a platform, an organization called Retro Report. And it's a nonpartisan organization that really focuses on bringing very important issues to discussion. They do a lot of things that have happened in the past, which I think is safe.
Yeah.
And when I say safe, I really don't want to talk about any current issues right now, because I feel as if that would probably be left to the parents to kind of, discuss their values, their worldview. I think it's really sensitive, especially I feel right now we're in a space where it's really hard for us to have conversations. But at the same time, our kids that are high schoolers are being launched. And if they don't learn how to have conversations and they not necessarily agree with each other, I think that's part of a democracy. I think that's part of being civic minded. I think that's part of ethics. And so here we are. So the ethics and civil discourse will help young people understand what is ethics, what's morality. It's going to be nonpartisan again, because I try to stay into a safe space where people can get the concepts, the principles that don't have partisanship at all. Right? They're not Republican, they're not Democrat. These are just principles. And then families can take it from there. So I won't inject my personal partisanship or anything like that. I'm talking about these concepts and using historical events. So I'll give an example of historical event that is pretty well known, unfortunately, right? Is the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? And so like the US, we bombed those two places. And why did we make that decision, and what was involved, and what's the ethics of it, and what would you have done differently, if anything? How to bring in all the factors and have a discussion and encourage young people to feel confident in being able to do research, being able to have a point of view that they can back up, right? And that they can speak about, but at the same time, listen to someone who has a different perspective and figure out how we can come together or agree to disagree. That's an option, right? We can agree to disagree and still love each other, still care, and still learn the values of being ethically and moral citizens. And so I think that's ethics. The model diplomacy, again, I taught last year, and this is the second year I've taught that. We're going to use the Council on Foreign Relations. I call it CF as in Frank R. And I'm a CFR ambassador, and I'm also a Retro Report ambassador too. And that just means I have access to more of their resources, have training. So both of these are nonpartisan. The Council on Foreign Relations is established here in DC. And their goal, again, is to put out nonpartisan information about events that have happened in the past. So last year, one that came to mind was nuclear proliferation, and what does that mean? And what's our history of that? And why is it important? And to know about, and those things like that. So we're going to be really making it happen again. And I'm really excited about it. And the kids have said, hey, if you teach again, I want to be in any class. Parents are just been asking, when are you going to teach again? When are you going to teach again? I really decided to put these in October to give parents and students in high school just a little chance to get going with that first month. And then we'll get started with these classes.
Yeah. I don't remember how I sat in on part of one of your classes or watched a recording.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but it was wonderful, because what students had done is they had learned how to learn about an issue, how to do legitimate research, and then how to explain where they're coming from in their thought patterns.
Exactly.
And then they were also practicing the listening to others. And, that's, the way God made the body of Christ is we're all different. But we're all made to work together. And so when teens get some tools of education and thinking in a civic minded way, we can actually carry out some kingdom of God kind of things, I bet, by our thoughts and behaviors.
I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. It's like, yeah, I mean, for me, that's super important as a Christian.
yeah.
That I have different perspectives on a whole lot of issues, just like everyone else.
Mhm,
But I think I like to hear others' perspectives
mhm.
and be able to share mine. And we still like, we're still okay with each
Yes.
other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
what some may say that's being idealistic, but that's
Mhm.
my hope, my prayer
Yeah,
for the young
yeah,
people to be able to have the opportunity to realize
yeah.
it is totally possible. Maybe you don't see it right now in our
Mhm,
world and in our
mhm,
country, but it's possible, and you
yeah,
are the future that to make
mhm.
that happen. So
Yeah, and one of the things I've been encouraging parents and teens about, in the kind of fractious culture we have right now,
yeah,
is not everybody is as old as I am, but I remember back in the old days, I grew up in the Bible Belt. And in those days, if you went to the Baptist church, you never really hung around with the Methodists, and the
yeah,
Presbyterians. Oh my goodness,
right,
and if you ever dared, if you were a girl and you wanted to go out on a date with a boy that wasn't the same denomination, the world was going to come to an end and your parents
right,
locked you in the bedroom.
yeah,
So, people couldn't even talk to each other about different
yes,
ways of worshiping
yes,
Jesus.
yeah,
And over time, God helped us learn to love the body of Christ, and we can all
mhm,
worship and love each other, even if we have tweaks of things that are different. So,
exactly,
and we
yeah,
can do that in the realm of civics. And so your
mhm,
courses are giving tools for that. So
yes,
for teens who are building a civics credit, and a lot of our teens these days will build these kind of courses by logging hours. And so they
exactly,
don't need a textbook, they need the
hmm
experiences in the training.
right,
And so that they can take your both courses and
yes,
log the hours, and then if they need to fill that out with some
yes,
more basic stuff, if
right,
you go to Seven Sisters Homeschool and look in our freebies section in the
hmm
store,
hmm
there are studies, resources for the US Constitution studies,
hmm
and that teens can just log hours. Like from the National Constitution Center, they have the
hmm
Constitution 101 self-paced course. It's free.
yes,
iCivics has a
I
free
love
course.
iCivic,
Yeah, and games. They like, can you imagine
yes,
civics games? And they're fun.
yes,
Um, so, and then there's links to things on Khan Academy and PBS that are free. And then for a very minor amount of money, I have a study on the Constitution and on the Declaration of Independence, just enough to cover the cost
hmm
of the space on our Teachable platform. So there's links to all of that
all of that, yes,
at Seven Sisters Homeschooling. It's called Resources for U.S. Constitution Studies Freebie. All right, so
I love
that
it,
way teens can fill out a very meaningful civics credit,
exactly,
and be able to walk away with some human skills as well as
right,
the details. So,
right,
okay, all right, so let's give information on how to sign up for your two courses. And then
Ye-
what I want to mention also your guidance course, which is for teens to
yes,
learn how to own their own high school planning. So not that they do it independent of their parents, but to
right,
understand what on earth is going on. So let's
yeah.
talk about those three courses real quick. So
Oh,
name and
okay.
how to sign up.
Yeah, so the high school guidance courses are broken up into two cohorts. The ninth and 10th graders are one, and the 11th and 12th graders,
Mhm,
because even though ninth to 12th is high school, the early years of ninth and 10th look differently.
yes.
The taskings differently, the concerns, the thoughts, the
Mhm,
classes
mhm,
are different than 11th and 12th in that last 2 years of the journey. So
yeah.
I'm putting them together because they have more in common. And so the goal, like you said, is to help the students own that
Mhm,
process. And parents are definitely welcome to sit in on the class, but my goal is to speak to the students. And I do that
mhm,
also one-on-one in consultations. I will, and recently worked with a student who was applying for congressional nominations because he wants to go to the Naval Academy. So we were walking through that process, and I literally, the mom was there because, homeschool, I don't ever separate a homeschool parent from the kid. I wouldn't have wanted that. So, but the parent was so happy because she had been saying, do this, have you done that? And the student was like, no, not yet. And it just felt like the student was saying, I want this. I want to go to Naval Academy. But they weren't getting the tasks done to lead to success to get there. So I kind of came in and said, listen, let's talk. This is what you want to do. Yes. Confirm. Yes. Okay. So this is the things that you need to get done. And this is when you need to get them done. We'll check back in. And this, so the high school guidance ones are going to be group format, doing not necessarily specifics of helping people work through applications. I can do that in a one-on-one, but it's going to be like, what is the College Board? Do you need a College Board account? What tests fall under the College Board? When do you take the PSAT? What is an advanced placement course? So those type of questions. And helping them kind of establish goals and understand the journey and what's important. So hopefully, I think it'll be helpful for the parents too. And students love to know more about, like, why do I have to do this? Like, what's the importance?
Right.
Like, oh, no, the eye rolling and all. So if you get tired of that, parents, let me come alongside and help. And then, because we graduated the 5 to college, so I'm done. So
been there, done that. Yes,
done that, right? So so that's 4 courses there: 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th for the guidance and planning, and then the ethics, and then the model diplomacy. All of them are available to sign up on my Natalie Mack MACK.com website. I can give you the link so that families can take a look at them. Like I said, ethics starts Friday. We will be on Zoom, and we will be using Google Classroom. And so I'm super excited. Like, I love this stuff. Like,
it is such a good opportunity. Yeah, we'll put links in the comments here on this. And so we've got ethics, and we've got model diplomacy, and also for teens who need to be able to own their own high school, to really understand what's going on, the guidance course. So put links there, and also I'll put a link to the freebie resources to fill out that civics credit, because we want our teens to be ready to be great citizens. So
exactly. I agree. That's the goal.
Yeah. Thank you, Natalie, for taking out your time today, because I know you are probably on your way to go somewhere else. Like, God's already sending you
I just got back from Ohio last night. No, Saturday night. I had to remember. So, but I'm home for about a week and a half.
Yeah, I love following you on Facebook. Yeah, where's Natalie now?
Oh my gosh. Thanks, Vicki. You're such an amazing person, such a supporter. And I love Seven Sisters Homeschool. So
and
thank you very much.
Yeah, we love all our 7 sisters. So thanks everybody for joining us right now, and we will talk to you later.